Call to order by the
No pledge of
management,
allegiance.
please. Excuse me. you
No
start-
pledge of allegiance.
We're gonna right after the second.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
The roll call, Tim Caton,
Here.
Ryan Costa, Elizabeth Collins,
Here.
Pauline Brodeur,
Here.
Henry Lanier.
Okay, pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, approval of the minutes of April 16th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
No, I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Do the second, and then we'll do the discussion.
Okay. Second.
Okay, discussion. Discussion.
Oh, the discussion. Unfortunately, at the last meeting and the meeting before, I was prepared for the material all right. I just wasn't prepared for what was coming before us. And I think that's why a couple of people said the same thing to me. And that's why everyone was so quiet, because after an election, you reorganize the committee. That didn't happen, and people were asking me why, and I couldn't answer them because I was stunned. For a person that's been here for 25 years, 26, 27 years, I thought, as it stands now, even the Board of Selectmen, Shauna has been chair for forever, and they made her chair because she knows the material, and she can guide everybody to where they're going, and she keeps up with the material. And so that's why I didn't say anything, because I certainly would have made a motion to appoint myself as chair. I never thought that, I've never seen, I've watched all the videos. You do a good job on the videos. I've seen all the videos, and there isn't one video that it isn't somebody that was chair before, because of the knowledge they hold and what they can bring forward to the tenants, the audience. Certainly, we've had some real whoppers here on special issues. And so that's all I have to say, because I could go on and on and on.
If I can just point something out, there are housing authorities that, that do it in that way, where they have a reorganization right after the town election. What I usually do, and again, I don't know if it's the right way or the wrong way, or if it's spelled out someplace, and maybe I need to look at the regulations to find out when that's done. But I usually do a reorganization of the board, or I put it on the agenda for the board to reorganize themselves, usually at the last meeting of the fiscal year, which would be June. The new fiscal year here, starts July 1st. So what we do in the other managed agencies is we have election of officers for the coming fiscal year in June. Now, if that's not the way it's typically done here, or if that's not the way it should be done, then I'm more than willing to
Well,
modify that going forward.
It's done after the town meeting, the first board meeting after the town meeting, which
Okay.
would be this one.
yeah.
Or after the
I
elections.
Right, after the elections.
Okay.
And I nominate Liz.
And there is one thing that has changed. Since I've been volunteering in town, which was in the 70s, I used to take out my Robert's rules and read them carefully. But what the state has done, and I don't know if anybody's gotten a copy, but the state has changed the rule. And does say in the rule that the chair before, chair now, chair after, can be a chair, which I've been talking to people and nobody seems to know, so I don't think anybody's gotten a notice about that. But
My only concern about doing an election of officers at this meeting is the fact that it's not listed on the agenda. So this, this agenda was publicly posted, and it was not on the agenda. I just post the agenda. I will defer to the four of you to decide what you want to do. The chair just informed me that Ryan Costa is not going to be taking the position.
I'm not surprised.
Okay, so so the process involved with that supposedly is he's gonna resign, and then the select board will have an opportunity to appoint someone else, however long that takes. And I imagine that, we had a similar, instance at a different agency where, the board sort of interviewed different people and then coalesced around a single candidate. And then the board presented that candidate to the select board, and the select board made the appointment. I don't know how you folks want to do it, if you have a process laid out, but that's typically what happens.
That's what all boards do.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
They look to somebody from the board to say, I'll help, I'll take care of all the information from that other committee and bring it back to the board. That's what the state hasn't put in any rules or regs on that, because you never get anywhere.
Right.
If I can for a minute, the town will post on the open positions. The town posts that. And if anybody's interested in becoming a board member, then they apply to the
town clerk.
town clerk, not the town clerk, the town
Selectmen.
select board, thank you. And they go to the town select board, and then if there's nobody else in the running, but the select board usually has the final say on
I understand that.
who's gonna come on or not, or whatever board it is.
I understand that, but that's not part of the discussion this morning. There's a whole different part of the discussion.
Well, think-
I understand that because,
So are you, what you're saying, Elizabeth, what you're saying is, the chairman shouldn't keep being the chairman. You should move it to different people? Is that what you're saying?
no.
What are you saying?
Explain what you think.
Excuse me?
Could you explain what you think I'm saying?
It sounded to me like there should be a new chairman every time there's an election.
That's the way we
That's
usually
the
do.
rule.
Is that what you?
That's the rule. As a matter of fact, after the election, Shauna
and everybody on the Board of Selectmen didn't even have it on the minutes. They talked quietly amongst each other, and they knew who didn't want to be chair, and this didn't want, nobody wanted to be chair. Sean said, I'll do it again. I'll do it again, but anybody can be chair if they so choose. But,
I didn't realize that was a rule. That's my fault for not realizing that. But if maybe because of the agenda and this being a public meeting and stuff, maybe we should move it to next month, and then maybe we all meet a little bit earlier before the next meeting and we discuss it.
well,
We can discuss it and say, does somebody else want to be the chairman?
okay, let me explain something.
Mr. Chairman,
It's not
Sure.
my,
should I move that we
it's,
take up the process that you just described, moving the,
1 second, let her speak and then I'll, go ahead.
it's not my idea to rumble everybody up and, get everybody tied up about this. I wanted to give my feeling, because you have to understand, I have been here over 25 years.
I get it.
So I personally have done the process for over 25 years. And when that wasn't going, whether it was on the agenda or not, because it really doesn't have to be on the agenda, because you have to do it quickly, you do it before you do the Pledge of Allegiance, you go on and you say, okay, we gotta reorganize before we do anything here with this material. And that's how they did it. And after I had found out what happened here, I said, okay, I understand now. And I do understand to a certain point. So I'm not going to go on any further. We've got enough time. We've got more than enough time to go on with the agenda. So I just wanted to say how I felt. And after having sat here for all those years, and everybody understanding, except one board, that you choose somebody, and that's the long and short of it. So I'm not trying to,
As a board, you can decide what you want to do. I mean, you mentioned that it doesn't necessarily have to be on the agenda. That's fine by me. It's your decision how you want to proceed. If you'd like to reorganize now, you can do that. If you want to wait till next month, you can do that. I'm here to report to you how you govern yourselves
yeah.
is up to you.
And when you talk about those issues, the state has changed the law. Don't forget the state.
How could I forget that?
But not many people knew they had changed the law.
So are you saying that there's a state law that says that on the board of directors, the chairman has to change at every election?
The chairman has to change. It's not in Robert's rules. I don't think they have it in Robert's rules.
No, but are you saying it's a Massachusetts state law?
You do a reorganization after each month.
Right,
Yeah.
there needs to be a reorganization annually, that's correct, I know that.
Well, that's.
Yeah, where I come
that's
from,
correct.
where I was coming from is simply, I just try to sync things up with the fiscal year. So my thought being was, at the June meeting, we would do the reorganization for the coming fiscal year.
Yeah,
But you're saying it has to be right after, or it's always been that way here, where you reorganize right after the election. That's fine, that's fine too. That's up to you folks.
I think we're talking about too, if you don't mind my interjection, I think the question is, does the chairmanship have to change? Because it doesn't always change. They had the reorganization and some people, they take it on again.
There needs to be an election of officers annually. If the chair gets reelected, that's fine, as long as the process unfolds on an annual basis. The chair does not have to rotate. Some housing authorities do that. They rotate, everybody gets a turn for a year as being chair, and they just rotate through, so.
Well, they already nominated Liz, nobody said anything, nobody seconded it.
When did you nominate Liz?
Before we started.
Tonight?
No, during Liz's discussion.
Yeah.
and the only thing about, when you reorganize, when you don't reorganize, as I say, I don't know when the state changed the rule that anybody can be chair. I don't know when that happened. I haven't found the date yet. I don't think they published it yet. But I found out later that day. That's how they do it now. But as I say, the Board of Selectmen, I watched their meeting and they were all in a huddle. And I said, what are they doing in a huddle? And it was because no one wanted to be chair on the Board of Selectmen. That's a hefty job. And so Shauna offered to be chair because they've got some pretty, I'm not going to get into what they.
If I could just kind of get us back, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the minutes. Why don't we approve the minutes, and then if you'd like, you can go back into this conversation about whether you want to reorganize now.
Motion to approve the minutes.
There was a motion by Pauline, it was seconded by Liz.
Did somebody make a motion?
I already did, and you seconded.
Oh, okay,
Okay,
all right.
all right. Is there any, we had a discussion, is there any opposition? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Now, the only opposition I would have is I cannot read Japanese.
Well, you're looking at the wrong thing, you're looking at the annual plan.
Oh, okay, that's not in there.
So,
Okay, why don't we just move on and, let everybody,
what I'll do, if it's acceptable to the 4 board members, I'll put the reorganization on the agenda as the first item at the June meeting. Is that acceptable to you, Liz?
that's fine.
Okay.
The purpose of my saying this was pretty strong. So I wanted to say, in case anybody asked me, because 2 people asked me, that's not a lot of people, what happened with, appointing a chair. So I said, I really can't tell you, because I don't know. So why don't we go through.
Again, you're looking at the annual plan again, Liz, that's not the board packet.
Okay, sorry, everyone, I didn't mean
Keep going to
to.
the next one.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Approval of the warrants, number 10.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Any opposition? So moved.
I have a copy of the warrant going around, if you could each sign it.
And then we'll get into the management report.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The usual items that are in your board packet every month are in there. There's the vacancy update, There's a completed maintenance report for the month of April, and there is the financial reporting for the month of March. All appears to be in very decent shape as we approach the conclusion of the fiscal year. Things are looking very good. We're holding steady with the 2 vacants. Again, one of the 2 vacants, as was reported a month ago, was in very, very, lousy condition. It's, required a lot of effort and a lot of funding really to turn that apartment over. The other unit, Dave, I believe, is just about done with, I believe. So we're in the process now of going through the CHAMP process to identify a new resident. Reserves here are very healthy. Again, 70%, which is exactly where you want to be. You don't want to have too much money available, and you certainly don't want to have too less money. So we're in very, very good shape. Rent collections are very strong, and all the expense items are well within budget. Maintenance expenses are a tad bit over budget, but that's to be expected because of the vacants that we are working on. So if anybody has any questions on the financial reporting or on anything else, you can address that with me in either a phone call or an email. I'll be happy to expand on that. I just wanted to move into what I wanted to spend a little bit of time on today was the item under old business. We had a conversation at last month's meeting about the CPC and what projects would be funded and what projects would be acceptable to them. And I had a very lengthy conversation with Betty Slade. We played a little phone tag, and I want to thank Liz for giving me the phone number and so forth. And she is very knowledgeable. She's got a lot of contacts throughout the state, and her knowledge of what is acceptable for CPC or not is rather extensive. So she did provide me with the name of Craig Dutra, who I guess is the chair of the Affordable Housing Trust here in Westport. I'm reaching out to him, and we're having a conversation. There appears to be very strong sentiment, strong positive sentiment to having Westport do its part in addressing a lot of the affordable housing issues that are at play here. And both from Senator Roderick's office, I have not had a chance to speak to the new state rep. I reached out to him on a couple of occasions. I have not heard back. I want to keep trying. That'd be Steve. Mm-hmm. Steve Willett. So I'm still trying to make contact with him. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that the housing authority, or perhaps we could form a nonprofit entity. We could do some real estate development here under the right circumstances. So I'll be looking at that. That's my goal, is to look at that coming up. I mentioned
Go ahead.
Okay, I mentioned that we're approaching the end of the fiscal year, and this is Attleboro's first year. This is the conclusion of our first year here in Westport, and I'm just happy to say that we've kind of we've sort of stabilized things. The office has been reorganized. We have a maintenance plan in place now. Devlin's taken the lead on that. He's doing a great job. So I think in the first year we've sort of done an analysis of the operations, and we've made improvements where necessary. And I think as we look ahead, we want to look at the broader community here in Westport, and actually hopefully play a role in addressing some of the the affordable housing issues. Okay, it's my understanding right here on this property out in the back there, we may have some available land. I'm going to be looking at that more intently in the next fiscal year, and to see if it's feasible for us to do anything with that land. as well as to maybe address, to, look into other parts of town that may be acceptable or amenable to affordable housing. Maybe, readaptation of an existing building. I'm not 100% familiar with the town of Westport. I have to get around and actually look into this, but,
Wasn't it, I think there was something in the local paper in the Shoreline that they were looking for people that had about, 8 acres of land or more
Yeah,
to either give to the town or let them purchase it.
okay, all right. I'm gonna follow up. I have not met the Board of Selectmen either. So it's my goal to really get out there more in the community in the year coming up, to let them know that we want to be part of the solution to the affordable housing, and it is a crisis in the state. I say this all the time for the folks that have the benefit of living in public housing. You really have the best deal going, because even though these are relatively small apartments, if you try to find a 1-bedroom unit anywhere, you're talking well over $1,000 a month. And I'm glad to say that's not the case here. So, and the feedback that I'm getting from residents is they're, overall, with their housing here, they're very happy with it, and you should be. It's a very well-maintained community. Dave, over the years, has done a great job, continues to do so. Our only goal here is to make things better, so the assets get preserved for as long as possible. And it should be everybody's intention to, want to age in place, okay? Nobody wants to talk about nursing homes or anything like that. And I think when I had a conversation with Senator Rodericks, that came up, that, public housing from a state perspective, when they invest in public housing, those are dollars well spent, because it's dollars that are not impacting things on the other end with Medicaid and everything else. And with the all the attention right now focused in Washington DC about possible Medicaid cuts and so forth, that's a real thing. And I'm following that very closely, because that could definitely have an impact on a lot of our folks. Not only that, but you also benefit here because this is state-funded public housing. It's not federally funded. And if you've been following the news, the budget that was sent up from the White House to the Congress called for about a 48% cut to all HUD funds, which is
Critical.
I mean, that's going to decimate the entire infrastructure. There's no way that's not gonna pass. But that's the mindset of the administration that's there now. They don't want federally funded housing. They want to turn it back over to the states in a block grant. And I have serious doubts that that's a workable proposition. So I'm monitoring that, but you folks are in a very good position. And but that's my goal, just to let the board know. My goal for the coming year is to really look in the community and see what kind of partnerships we can make. And Betty was very complimentary. She says that it's nice to have an organization that we can work with toward that goal. So I'm happy to report that.
Perhaps you could come someday and give us a talk, or meet with the board and.
Of course, yeah. She mentioned that, actually.
I thank you for saying all those things. When CPC first came in, which was about 22 years ago, I was on the board putting it together with all my compadres.
And then I brought her back to Greenwood Terrace. And what I got was, that's not our job. We're not supposed to be doing that. I said, I'm sorry, but it is our job. I said, look it up, it is our job. I said, how do you think, you know, what, everybody else is gonna do the work for affordable housing? I said, I don't think so. But they never gave in. They always thought that it wasn't their place. So it's a pleasure to hear somebody in this building say they are for affordable housing and are gonna work towards it.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah, that was the gist of the conversation. It was a very positive, very upbeat conversation. And she's, I mean, she's, you know, she's been doing this, I guess, for a number of years, for a long time.
Yeah.
So she, you know, she's very well versed, but she had I mean, she sent me an email with a bunch of contact people, and I'm gonna be reaching out to a number of these folks, and, you know, to see what we can do here, not only to improve, you know, this site, but to maybe, you know, see what land's available back there, see what would be reasonable if we built anything. I think in order for us to do any building per se, we would need to form a nonprofit and do that. I don't think the housing authority could do it. We'd have to form a nonprofit, but we have a nonprofit up in Attleboro that is heavily involved right now in the redevelopment of an old high school building. So, you know, we have a little experience doing that part of it, and it can be, you know, easily replicated on the different housing authorities. So we're looking forward to that. There's a lot of good things happening, a lot of really, you know, solid ideas. You know, there's the old NIMBYism that's always at play, not in my backyard. You know, everybody, you know, residents, you know, love affordable housing as long as it's, you know, on the other side of town, you know, that kind of thing. But that's par for the course. We deal with that all the time, and we're dealing with that in Attleboro. But surprisingly, the high school redevelopment project, so far anyway, has attracted really broad support in the community, which is good to see. That's not always the case, but so far it's been the case in Attleboro, so, you know, pleasantly surprised.
Just one thing, if anyone has a chance and has not looked at Nokichoke Village, please do it. It is beautiful. It's something I started 15 years ago. It took me 15 years, along with the architect.
I'm gonna put you on the spot, Liz. How do you spell that?
Nokichoke?
Yeah.
Nokuchoke.
Very good.
Nokichoke Village.
Okay.
And then the other one is, that I was just involved with, is Habitat for
Humanity.
Habitat, come on.
Habitat for Humanity.
Humanity, yeah. And that was a two-family duplex. So, you know, as you said, Paul, you know, you can play around and there's a lot out there to look at. You just gotta look.
That's right. That's right. You gotta do a little bit of work, and
Yeah.
but that's now that we've been here for a year and we kind of have our feet on the ground and know what's going on down here, and the office has been kind of, you know, reworked and stabilized. Now we can move into those other areas, which we can do.
Okay. Anything under new business?
Nope.
Commissioners' comments? Anybody?
Are you talking to me?
Commissioners' comments?
That's number 8 on the
You're a
agenda.
tenant, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, 1 second. You're gonna get a shot. Okay. Go ahead.
we'll take your questions, everybody's questions at the end of the meeting, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, any other commissioners' comments?
No?
Hearing none. Tenants' comments?
Go ahead, Rick.
Your turn.
Okay, thank you. You were looking for housing, and I don't know if you're familiar with the location of the old Westport High School, which is basically empty. I mean, I see a few cars there, but it's a big building. It's got a lot of land, and it's not that far from the supermarket. The supermarket's fairly close. I mean, you know, maybe the bus would have to drive somebody a couple miles. And then there's, you know, there's some places there where people can get pizza, some snack foods, and the Lee's Market, actually, they even have a restaurant there. But it would be possibly an interesting location, and it's sitting there. It's a huge building, and they've got a lot of fields there, and that's one thing. I have a couple other things, if I can raise them. You may want to put it on the agenda for another time. And one is driving fast in the community. And that is, I mean, I observed, you know, there's a few people here that really drive fast. I don't think anybody in here, otherwise they'd be throwing darts at me. But that is an issue, and somebody who lives in my building, I'm in 6, was stepping off the curb, and the car came around a wide turn, because she's driving fast, you just kind of spin out, and stopped in front of her. And she's complained to the office about it. But I think that's just, you know, we have a lot of people that use canes, or, you know, walk the best, and all that kind of stuff.
We can look into putting signage up and things like that.
15 miles an hour.
Yeah, there's one sign, but I think you need more visibility, and, I mean, it's something that is, it's important. I mean, people have to understand that this is important. And then, the other thing, if I can continue, unless you want me to be quiet.
No, go ahead.
The other thing is the ladies, the Brazilians, I guess they're all Brazilians, they're very nice people who are cleaning, but there's one problem that I noticed yesterday, and they have a broom. There's no plug for a vacuum. However, cleaning people have these portable vacuums they put on their back. They can cover a lot of areas very fast. It's much more efficient for them. And what happens is they're sweeping the steps, and then it goes into the air. In other words, you know, they're like sweeping to get to the downstairs hallway, whatever it is they're sweeping. And there's dust out there and pollen. And so I think a vacuum that works on batteries, I mean, it's typical and very efficient. And they will save time. They will be able to be more productive and do a better job. So those are the two areas.
I can mention that to them.
Okay, I appreciate that. And the other thing, I think Dawn may want to bring that up, because we spoke about it this morning, which was, you were talking about smoking. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not gonna bring that up today.
You're not, okay.
No. The only thing I'd like to bring up today is policies. If we can, maybe the next, I'm not gonna get into it today, but maybe on the next agenda, on some other day, to bring up some of these policies and revise them. You know, I think they need to be revised. Some of them are common sense, and they're fine. But there's others that, you know, smoking is one of them, and I'm not going to get into that today. But if we can put it on the agenda for the next time, or...
Well, when we put it on the agenda, typically that means we would want the board to approve the revised policy, whatever we're changing. So it would, what we
Yeah.
typically do is we would revise the policy outside of a board meeting, and then maybe have a resident meeting to inform everybody about what may be changing, and then, get input as well from people before changing it, and then...
Well, we talked about doing this before, and it never happened, so
Well,
if we could get something going, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and that's, right, and that's something we can look at, definitely. Usually, though, if it goes on the agenda, it's to pass a policy,
Okay,
update or change.
okay.
And then, usually all the heavy lifting is worked out beforehand
Right,
to
okay.
get a policy that's acceptable to everybody.
However we want to structure this is
Right.
fine, you
Right.
know, but it has to get done because it's just,
Are there any specific policies
Yes,
that
yes.
that you think
yes.
are outdated?
Yeah, well, it's not that it's outdated, well, yeah, this whole thing's outdated. But a lot of this stuff is common sense. Dogs, for instance, animals, bringing dogs in. They should have a designated area where dogs can go and to pick up that.
Well, we
dog.
understand that came
That's
up
one.
earlier, and we're looking
Like I
at
said, I
that
didn't
right
want
now.
to get
Yeah.
into this today,
Yeah, okay.
because, you
Right.
know, I mean, but there is a couple of things, that's one of them. The other one is planting. There's a lot of tenants I spoke with that would like to plant, but it's very ambivalent here in this, policy book, about planting, grounds in common areas. One of them was, the tenant can wish to plant flowers, can help beautify the grounds in some way, please notify the proper office for approval. And that's what I did when I called you about planting, and you said fine. But then if you read down, it says, do not plant in or put anything on the lawns. Now, that's ambivalent. In one sentence, you're saying we can do it, and then in a sentence, you said we can't do it.
Well,
So
I
that
think-
has to be looked at.
Yeah,
You know.
if it's right up against, if it's right up against the building,
Yeah.
it's not an issue. If it interferes with the cutting of the grass, we are having this, the same problem, up in Attleboro. Now, there's a lot more grass in Attleboro than there is here. But, we are, we're looking at updating policies in Attleboro to reflect, what the reality is that's going on. And it's namely that folks aren't really following the policies that are laid out. So we're having, but I agree with you. We can look at that, and maybe if it's, if it's contradictory or if it's whatever, we can tighten up the language on it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
First of all, on the chairperson, I just wanted to let you know, in the past what they've done, like when Veronica and Liz were here, they have them as co-chairs.
We still do.
Oh, okay.
Andrew that left, he was the co-chair,
Oh, okay.
He was the vice chair.
vice chair, excuse me.
Oh, okay.
Vice. Excuse me.
And also, with the high school, I think the town was making plans to do something with that.
They are, the town, it's being currently being looked at in a lot of different situations.
Yes.
Whether it's the town hall, everybody goes in there, and including all the departments goes in there.
Right.
I know it was looked at, how, some housing units they had a developer looking in there, and he just thought, their first opinion on that was it was just gonna be outrageously expensive to turn that into housing. So it's just some thoughts, but nothing's been determined yet, no decisions have been made yet, but, I know there's gonna be meetings coming up at the town, and they're gonna be discussing that and looking for opinions and different things.
Another thing I wanted to add was, I was watching the town meeting one day, and I don't know who he was, but I guess he was on the zoning board. Mr. Menard, I think it was Roger Menard. He was discussing that they are gonna be putting sewer systems in here after the water pipes are gonna be going in. So that's gonna give us the opportunity to maybe take down that easement, the
hill.
yeah. So we're gonna have even more property there, so that's gonna be, in years from now, it's not gonna be right away. It's gonna be-
Right,
You were
something to look
mentioning
at,
about
definitely.
having more property in the back,
Mhm.
knowing what's gonna be doing
Yep.
back there. And we're gonna be getting some more additional property over there too. So-
Excellent.
Mhm.
That's great news.
Yep. Okay, is there? Go, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I forgot what I wanted to say. Oh my God. Oh my
Break
God,
part.
I'm losing it. What was I gonna say?
Break part.
Yeah, I did. It was in my head and then I was listening.
Okay,
But as far as, I didn't tell anybody yet, but as far as what Ray said, it was me that almost got hit. It was me. And I'm this close, I was this close to getting hit. And I'll tell you who it was later. Go ahead.
Is it possible that we can put like speed bumps in? I mean,
It's
would
tough
you
for
consider
the
that?
plow, though. Bad in the winter would be plowing.
Yeah, that's what they discussed last time. They said the
The
plows
plowing,
can
yeah.
have a hard time going over the speed
We
bump.
gotta do something.
We can look at this, on the different options. Now that it's been reported that I have been aware in the past that from time to time, people do, travel through here at a very high rate of speed, and they should not be doing that. But that's a conversation Devil and I can have, and maybe bring Dave into the conversation, so.
You have been marked when we were, for the plows, we have a speed bumps out so the plows know to lift up the thing and go over.
Yeah.
I remembered.
Oh, good.
It was about the Bay State when they come. I think you were here when they came last to do the sewers, when they drain out whatever they do, the Bay State trucks, because they blocked the building, the parking in buildings 1 and 6. And they did notify us last time. They're still gonna notify us, because I have a lot of upcoming appointments that I have to leave early in the morning.
Mhm. I'm assuming that they would, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can always tell when they're gonna come because it stinks.
Yeah, when,
Once it starts smelling, you know they're coming pretty soon.
when they give us, notification that they're gonna be coming and doing pumping, we'll make sure that everybody's notified.
Well, it's only those 2 buildings, because it's just there.
Yeah.
So anybody that parks there is in buildings 1 or 6.
Yeah, we'll absolutely make sure that you're notified when they'll be there.
Because you did that last time. I don't know, I think you were here already when they did it.
Yeah, like the most recent time, yes.
But you're just reminding that they are going to be coming soon, so.
All right.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for them.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to say.
We'll let everybody know.
you want to know about it? You just not.
I know, but you can't be in, you loaded.
I understand. I understand, he said he's busy and it's just. he
I just
doesn't-
wanted to know why that
Right.
person didn't
Right,
accept.
Ryan
We
just.
campaigned, he was,
That's right. I agree totally with you. Let's sign that.
yep,
Yep. Ryan just told me he apologizes and he said that he's just, he's busy. He does some national stuff, political. And he said he just, got himself in a bind and he just wished that he hadn't ran and made a mistake.
Excuse me, on that too, about Ryan Costa, if he doesn't want the job, there was a couple of write-ins. Would they turn it over to the write-in?
I don't think it works that way.
No.
I don't think it works that way. I think they have to be appointed. Some of those writing people could go to the select board, and then they could make a request and do it that way. I'm gonna talk to the clerk anyway about it and get it official, and I'll bring it next.
What they do in one of our other towns that we oversee, they will reach out to anybody that did receive write-in votes. I think it was mentioned there were 9 total.
well, they go by districts, and I looked at the total people that voted, and it just gave 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if it's 9 different people, well, then that's not really anything you can work with. If there's one individual that maybe got 5 of the 9 write-in votes, you can reach out to that person and say, presumably if they're interested, but that's not, I don't know how they do it in Westport. We had that situation at a different housing authority, and some individual received, I think, 3 or 4 write-in votes, and there was nobody on the ballot. there was nobody on the ballot. So we reached out to that individual, because he got 4 write-in votes, and the individual had no idea that people were writing his name in. So he respectfully declined. So, yeah, but, you know, Tim will look into that with the clerk.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? There a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Wait, excuse me.
I'm wondering if we should make note of Paul calling the person that was elected to the housing authority so that it's there, it doesn't look like, you know, we've left him in the lurch.
Oh, I've made numerous attempts to reach out to him. I've emailed him, I've called, and he's never gotten back to me, so, but I can mention that in the minutes, is that
Yeah,
what you're
just to
saying?
mention,
Yeah,
I
okay.
know, I know it's mentioned here, but,
In fact, I'll insert it into old business. I'll just put the whole, you know, board discussion under old business.
Okay.
All right?
Okay, there was a motion to adjourn, a second.
second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none? So moved. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.